If you've ever been told it takes years to speak a language fluently, if you've been stuck in grammar books or wasting your time with useless apps and boring classes, this video is going to completely change how you think about language learning. Because today I'm going to give you a step-by-step plan to become fluent in any language in just 1 year. No classrooms, no tutors, no complicated grammar drills, and no 10,000 hours of YouTube videos for immersion or any kind of nonsense like that. Just you, your phone or computer, and 30 to 60 minutes a day of serious learning. And if you're thinking something like, well, I've tried everything and nothing works, good. That means you're in the right place, because this actually works. I'm going to show you exactly how it works, all right? And I also show you why the typical methods fail, and how to build a routine that helps your brain absorb a new language like a sponge. Stay with me, because in the next 60 seconds, I will show you exactly why this method is different and why it will work, unlike all the other methods you tried that failed. Let's start with a little myth busting first. Most language programs obsess over grammar. Wrong. Grammar is not what makes you fluent. Imagine being face to face with native speakers right now. You're not doing multiple choice exercises, you're not conjugating verbs, you're not filling the gaps, you're not doing any of that. What you're trying to do is to have a conversation, right? And what do you need in that situation? Exactly. Words. You need to know a lot of words, and then you need to be able to pronounce them relatively well. Fluency starts with vocabulary and pronunciation, because without the words, grammar is useless. And without good pronunciation, even if you know the words, nobody will understand you if you don't pronounce them the right way. So basically, these are the only 3 things you need to know to become fluent in a language. You need to know vocabulary, the meaning of a lot of words. You need to learn pronunciation, what those words sound like. And finally, you need to learn grammar, how those words form sentences. But if you break it all down, vocabulary is king, undefeated and undisputed. You can't speak if you don't know the words you need to use, period. So what we're going to do is to use a technique that lets you memorize 30, 50 or even 100 words a day easily. Yes, it's possible. Anyone can do it. Second, pronunciation. Also really important. Because even if you know lots and lots of words, if you can't recognize them when you hear them, you won't understand the language. And if you are not understood when you're speaking, you can't really communicate either. But don't worry, because I'll show you a simple 5-minute drill that you can do on your own to improve your pronunciation. Alright, but what about grammar? Well, you can absorb the grammar through exposure, like when you learn your native language, right? You didn't study grammar before you could speak and understand the language. They taught you grammar in school much later, for some reason. So forget about studying grammar. No more grammar rules, no more pages, conjugations, just natural language learning in context, alright? Let's focus on vocabulary, let's focus on listening and speaking, and grammar will take care of itself. Now, here's how you can put it all together into one daily routine. Simple and easy to follow. As long as you're consistent, it'll get you fluent quickly, alright? Step 1, learn a lot of vocabulary. For this, you need to use mnemonic associations. We're going to trick your brain into remembering the words by using ridiculous, weird, fun, unforgettable mental images. This is called mnemonic associations, and it works really, really well. Let's say you're learning Spanish and you want to remember that loro means parrot. What does loro sound like? Lord, like Lord of the Rings. So you visualize one of the characters from the Lord of the Rings carrying a parrot on his shoulder like a pirate. Close your eyes if you need to, but make sure that you visualize the image. Visualize any of the characters, like Gandalf or Sauron or Aragorn or any of those with a big pirate type parrot on his shoulder. Make sure you see the image, right? Visualize it. It's really silly, but it sticks. And from now on, you remember that loro is parrot in Spanish. Now go do that with 30, 50, 100 more words today. And repeat this whole process tomorrow. Simple, right? This way you can learn over 10,000 words a year. Easily. That's native level vocabulary, by the way. You start with the most common words, the most common verbs, which are really important, adjectives, and also the most common nouns in the language, and you learn several thousand of these words in a few months. You add an example sentence for each one of them, and then you memorize those words with associations, and you review them, because reviewing is really important. I'm not talking about memorizing them with this memory trick and then you keep them forever. No, you have to review them. And you can review them easily by simply reading those example sentences over and over again and listening to them over and over again. Create a playlist and you listen to the example sentence list daily. And you can easily review thousands of these sentences every day. And once you've learned the first 2,000 or 3,000 words with these techniques, you'll be ready for the next step, because you'll already understand 90+% of the vocabulary in the language. Next step being massive listening with real world audio. And this is where most people mess up. They listen to drooling Spanish or learn French while you sleep or things like that for beginners for years and years. And that really, really slows you down. What you want to listen to are real conversations, real podcasts by native speakers for native speakers. Pick a topic you love, sports, politics, history, true crime, whatever, and you listen to native speakers talking about it all day. And yes, at first it'll be difficult. You'll understand nothing because it's fast and difficult. Maybe they speak over each other, it's messy. But if you've been learning massive amounts of vocabulary with the previous exercise, you'll know most of the words they use it. So you just need to review the transcripts before you listen to it and just keep getting more and more listening practice with it. And eventually your ears will get used to it and you'll start to recognize those words that you've memorized in the content. So you start to understand. And the more you do it, the easier it will get. And by simply exposing yourself to lots of content, as long as you've memorized enough vocabulary, you will understand the language easily in a few weeks or months. And eventually you'll understand everything easily. Now it's time to get fluent. And for this, you'll need to do a lot of speaking practice. Speaking drills that actually work. Let me make one thing clear. You can't get fluent in a foreign language with input alone. You need to do a lot of speaking practice. Want to speak fluently? You need muscle memory. Your mouth needs to get used to speaking in the language. And that comes from repeating full sentences aloud over and over again. Here's the fastest and most efficient way to do it. 5 minutes a day or more, you take sentences in your target language and you repeat them aloud, word for word, over and over again. Aloud, really important. Mimic the native speaker audio, like you're active. Not only the exact same pronunciation, but also the rhythm and the tone, right? And this will sharpen your pronunciation, but also improve your rhythm, your cadence, and your sentence structure as well when you're speaking. And without you even realizing it, you start developing fluency. You can do this 5 minutes a day and your fluency will start improving. Do this for an hour a day and you'll be fluent in no time. But you need to do it. It's hard work, but you need to do it, right? And the question I often get is, which content should I do this with? And my answer is, any kind of content is good as long as you actually do it. You can use any kind of YouTube videos or podcasts or anything like that, learning materials to do this. But of course, the best materials to do this with are by far your language islands. Here's where things get really powerful. You need to create your language islands. These are personalized learning materials that will skyrocket your speaking fluency. How does it work? Very simple. Every day, write 10 or 20 sentences in your native language about topics you normally talk about, things you would say in the target language. Then you translate them and you learn them. Things like introducing yourself, talking about your job, describing your hometown, sharing your favorite food, talking about that time you went on holiday to Paris, why you hate your boss, etc. You're building your personal phrasebook with all the sentences you would say in real life. Real sentences for real conversations. Then you take these sentences, you translate them into the target language, you create audio files for them, and you read and listen to them over and over again. And you read them aloud as well. You shadow them. You listen and repeat. You review the old ones and you add new ones every single day. You make a playlist with them and you listen to them on repeat, dozens of times. And in a few months, you'll know thousands of useful sentences and you'll be able to talk about pretty much anything in the language. And that's it. That's all you need to do to become fluent in a foreign language. Now here's a complete daily routine you can follow. First, vocabulary. You create 30 associations every day. Again, 50 or 100 would be better, but 30 is already good. Then you review these words with example sentences by reading and listening to them. This should take approximately 15 minutes per day. Then you do listening practice. You listen to your language islands, the example sentences of the vocabulary you're learning, and of course, finally, native speaker audio once you're ready. An hour a day is what I recommend, at least. But of course, the more the better. Like I said, you can listen to this while commuting, working out, going for walks, etc. The next thing you need are speaking drills. At least 5 minutes a day. But obviously, the more the better. Repeat native speaker sentences aloud. That's it. And finally, write more language island sentences. You can write 20 new sentences in less than 5 minutes. And then you learn them as well. Total work time, less than 30 minutes. And don't tell me you don't have 30 minutes a day. That's less than one episode of that Netflix show you've been binge watching, alright? So yeah, 30 minutes a day, minimum. And if you do this every single day, after a year, you'll know more than 10,000 sentences, memorized and reviewed lots of times. You'll understand native speaker content easily, and you'll speak fluently, with very few mistakes, with confidence, and with pretty good pronunciation about any topic. And you can do all of that from home, on your own, as long as you've got a computer and internet access. You still think this is not possible? Alright, try this routine for 3 weeks only. Just 3. And track your progress. You'll be amazed by how quickly your brain adapts. Because this is how humans are built to learn. Not by memorizing grammar, not by filling out worksheets, by listening, speaking, and using the language the way you want to. So if you're serious about fluency, stop wasting time with YouTube videos skip the childish apps, forget everything you were told about mastering a language and the 10,000 hours you need, etc., and just start doing these 4 things every day. This system works every time. It's worked for me, it's worked for my students, and it will work for you as well. If you found this video helpful, give it a like, subscribe for more, and let me know in the comments which language you're going to master in the next 12 months. See you in the next one.